Remember, the next episode after this is already up live and available to watch now by over 4,500 incredible fans on the world's largest and highest earning anime and manga Patreon in the world. The links are in the pinned comment and description. See you there.
Well, a good start, don't you think? Vegito! Oh dear. So our story continues with the brutal and violent introduction, or should I say reintroduction, of Ultra Vegito into the Tournament of Elder Gods after slaughtering Hades' team of 3 by himself in the span of seconds, while also taking in all their energy. The Archangels, Akabel and Castiel, watching on in shock, having truly forgot who the God Killer was in this story, while the puppeteer of everything, Cronoa, would laugh uncontrollably at her victory. What? There's no way he could have done that! How? But of course, Elder God Hades would be the most stunned, his mouth wide open as he would begin to realize who this even was. As thinking deeper, he would whisper, "Wait, this is that guy from Hera's multiverse, the mortal that was fighting an Omnidevil and winning? He's the reason all this began. Did he really become this much of a threat, this quickly? He feels like one of Zeus's fighters." But as he would watch Vegito now walking away, he would even contemplate the cell tail he saw, thinking, no, I don't think it's just his own strength. That strange green appendage, he definitely is absorbing every slain fighter's power. I wondered where all the dead bodies were disappearing to. Was it him the whole time? Don't worry, kid. But Hades' thoughts would come to an end when an elderly hand would be placed on his shoulder from Elder God Ares, who smiling away would let Hades know, "What are you flustered about, young one? You did well. You thought wisely and did the same strategy as me. You saved your real fighters for later, haven't you? To fight the real titans of this game, like Zeus and Akabel's team. Just relax. You gave all of us a lot of vital information. Who knew Cronoa would be so foolish to spend all her resources on just that Vegito? The rest of her team seemed like child's play. Even your weakest fighters took care of them. One strong fighter in a team-based competition will spell the end of her. You can count on it." And to that end, of course, Ares would be talking about Charlotte and Cumber, who so surprisingly were taken care of like they were nothing, with the God Killer himself now approaching the still wrapped up and unconscious body of Charlotte. But yet again, for some reason Vegito would still be laughing as he would let out, "Alright, the fight's over now. You can stop pretending. You boys did well." Before turning his head and continuing, "That goes for you too, Cumber. Nice fool. I even started to believe you after a while." As instantly on command, like they had just been playing possum and waiting, Charlotte and Cumber would both burst open their eyes. Ridiculous, Vegito. As just like that, Charlotte would immediately rip off the coverings that had previously been so tight they had apparently trapped him, as if he could have done this at any time he wished anyway. Getting up now in front of Vegito as Kumba would arrive behind, just muttering, "I hope that gave you some sick satisfaction. Totally pointless if you ask me." What? As the minute Hades and Ares would see this, the old man's grip would tighten, as the two elder gods would realize they had been completely fleeced, tricked so brazenly, now leaving a question over whether the other two fighters were just as impressive as Vegito in reality. Nothing is pointless when it's a plan conceived by me, kid. You just have to trust the process on this one. But those elder gods will be pissing in their pants now that they realize they know less about us now than before we even entered this ring. Half the battle is mental warfare first. Remember that. As walking past now the two, he would call to them, "Now follow me back to our fighters' quarters. Let's see what kind of food Old Man Zeus has ready for us." And so the three would walk together towards the end of the stage. But Shallot, together with his brother Kumba, would make sure to let out coldly, "Yap all you want, Vegito. I don't doubt this had the intended effect you wanted. But this is the last time my brother and I throw a fight for your gain. We did this because of your threat to kill us if we didn't. Once is enough. After that, embarrassment is worse than death when it comes to Saiyans. You remember that." "Oh, don't worry. You won't need to next time. That I can promise." And like that, both Kumba and Shallot would vanish away, as the God Killer would be left to his own devices. But as he would make steps forward, at the end of the stage covering the door would be a lone figure. Regardless, the Saiyan God Killer would just continue to move at his leisure. But soon, at the foot of the stage, the figure would be more clear, wearing Omni King clothing. As standing there staring in hostility, Omni Vegito would be revealed, waiting for his counterpart, the first time he had seen him since he last left the God Killer brutally disfigured. But when Ultra Vegito would just make his way off the tournament stage and begin walking on the ground, it would be clear he would be purposely ignoring him, not even giving him a hint of eye contact. As he would reach now in front of his shoulder, Omni Vegito staring forward silent, until eventually the God Killer would pass. The two strongest Vegitos of all time, polar opposites, now inches away from each other, neither saying a word until... Wait! Finally, Omni Vegito would break the silence. One word, and the God Killer would stop calmly. As looking behind with his white seraphim, the Omni King would let out, "You just going to leave without saying hello? I know we're nothing alike, but that's pretty bad manners even for you." To which Ultra Vegito would respond, "Oh, you know me from somewhere. I suppose that face of yours does seem somewhat familiar. Go on, what is it you have to say to me? Though, I'm not sure I'm the same guy you remember." But back to back still, not even making eye contact, Omni Vegito would let out,
You really think what you did out there was impressive, don't you? You think you've gotten real strong. That overconfident smirk of yours is the same one you had the last time I put you in your place. For your sake, I hope you haven't convinced yourself that you've closed the gap between you and I. You weren't the only one training.
As the God Killer would reply,
Oh, now I remember you. I'm sure you have been training. What else would you be doing if you really were me? But don't worry, I don't think I've closed the gap between us. I've gone way past you.
As suddenly turning his head around, Omni Vegito's eyes would burst open the second the God Killer's words would leave his mouth, triggering the Omni King and Devil in a flash, as his face would show a slight red tint from pure annoyance.
Now that's disrespect I won't let slide. If you really think that, then show me right here and now. Fight me, and let's see how many pieces I leave you in this time. Careful what you wish for.
As Omni Vegito would finish the niceties and instantly swing his body around into fighting stance, as casually the God Killer would continue to just remain still looking backwards.
No more games! You need to know what fighting a god really is like!
As finally his Omni Devil eyes would activate, staring forward, veins pulsating on his forehead.
Cool eyes! But I've seen the same on Luciv. You're nothing special to me, boy!
As emulating his opponent, Ultra Vegito would then play along, turning his body into fighting stance as well.
Mine are better!
As the God Killer would then reactivate his own set of new eyes, gained from his training with the Elder God of Time, Cronoa.
Dad,
He's in trouble! But from a distance, Omni Vegito's son, the fifth of the five strongest, Goten, would notice the commotion. It's that evil version of Dad! I'm not letting him touch him! As with his familial instinct to protect his loved ones, Goten's power level would begin to rise in his anger.
What?
But it would come to a screeching halt when a mysterious arm would stretch itself across his way, denoting him to stop.
Who are you?
As it would soon be revealed to be Charlotte, who would look back and say, "Who I am doesn't matter, but you're not getting involved in something that doesn't concern you. Those two can handle themselves. Now be a good boy and just watch like the rest of us." Who does this guy think he is? Sorry, Dad, but this guy is making the real me come out again! As that latent fury of Goten would then show himself, gritting his teeth as he would mentally warn his father that scary version of him from before may inadvertently find its way outside again. But meanwhile, the two Vegitos would make good on their threats, both flying straight into the sky, with Vegito looking down at his white-haired twin thinking,
I was saving this for when we actually met in the tournament. But I guess now is as good as any to show you what I've really achieved.
Now high in the sky, Ultra and Omni Vegito would come face to face, one smirking and the other maintaining a cold and stoic look. Two sets of eyes, but only one victor to come out on top. The fight opening with Vegito throwing out a punch to be caught by the God Killer, only for Ultra Vegito to do the exact same and be stopped in the same way in the next panel. And so too would their perfectly synchronized fighting continue on, when they would both trade knees at the exact same time. It would appear as two Vegitos would fight the exact same. Or perhaps one of them just knew exactly what the other would do before it even happened and copied them perfectly. And so their skirmish would unleash further all across the sky, blatantly now in front of all. Crash after crash, impact after impact, leaving thunderous planet-shaking collateral.
Maybe you have been training.
As back with the two close up, as Ultra Vegito would throw out a punch that misses, both Saiyan fusions would have the same expressions. But at this moment, the battle would then pick up its intensity, as their individual yells would now grow far louder, and their movements more erratic, taking up the entire giant battlefield and even coming inches away from the spectators. These spectators being, of course, the Elder Gods, who notice immediately and now watch on intently, studying them, now realizing both of these were serious obstacles in the way of their dreams of becoming the new leader of the Elder Gods. Well, this is a surprise, and I must say, it's far more equal a fight than it was last time. The training was a success, as unlike the rest, Cronoa would not be worried at all. Like her fighter Ultra Vegito, she would just always be smiling. But groaning in disapproval, Zeus too would not be worried, but instead getting increasingly angry at what he was witnessing. And as their clashes would now so brazenly even reach the middle of the tournament stage,
Erasure is what comes for those who defy my rules. Both contestants will be removed for this behavior.
with a dead stare in his eyes, Zeus, without any warning, would be annoyed on the wrong day, as he would then begin lifting up his hand, as he always did, to command his yellow lightning and say,
"Be gone in a flash! Rules are rules!"
Vegito! Vegito!
As just as this was happening, the two ignorant warriors, caught up having the time of their lives, would be screaming much more animated, just about to collide their fists one more time, an impact that would surely dismantle much of the arena until...
Relax. You know you can't be doing this.
You again! What? Who is this creature?
As suddenly and once again, with far too much ease, Genesis would arrive to disturb another of Vegito's battles, coming in straight in between them and stopping their motion instantly, grabbing their fists in his palms, as with a big grin no less, he would look Ultra Vegito straight in the eye and whisper,
So, we finally meet. God Killer!
Where does this guy keep coming from? But the two Saiyans would be bemused. Omni Vegito's eyes wide open, wondering how Genesis kept finding a way into his battles, while Ultra Vegito would stare and wonder. This energy of his, this has to be one of Zeus's fighters. Maybe this is who Akobel was talking about. But before long, the surprise would wear off, and both fused warriors would detach themselves from Genesis and move backwards. But finally getting his chance to talk to the God Killer he wanted to meet since the beginning, Genesis would be all smiles, letting out,
My! Your reputation precedes you, but in person, you are just as impressive as I had imagined. Do you have any idea how long I have been waiting for a fighter like you to emerge?
well, that's a surprise. Someone here actually respects me and remembers who I am. What a shocker. For a minute there, I was beginning to think they'd forgotten what this manga was called. A pleasure to meet you nonetheless. Your name is...
Genesis!
But the black figure would suddenly twitch in pain as he would respond, looking at his hand. As when we would zoom in, the palm that had grabbed Ultra Vegito's punch would be seen all scratched up and smoking away. It would seem Genesis was not stopping the God Killer that easily. Sorry about that. Left a little mark. That happens when you get in my way. Consider that a lesson learned. Leaving the God Killer to then cockily close his eyes and grin. But as Genesis and Vegito would be having this interaction, in the distance, another Vegito would be watching. Wait! His punch did that to his hand! But mine didn't do anything! So, he was going to overpower me! He was going to win! God Killer! Next time, I will show you why all beings fear me! As upon realization, Omni Vegito simply could not hold back his anger, embarrassment, and fury, his teeth gritting and veins popping out of all parts of his skull.
Genesis!
But a more angrier scream would then yell out from the elder god Zeus, who would continue,
What do you think you are doing? You are meant to be training. You just narrowly missed being erased to dust, along with these two upstarts. Do you never think before you act? This is exactly why you had to be locked away. Zeus-sama! Please, no! Not that! Anything but being locked away again!
as comedically, the powerful muscular figure would be reduced to a sniveling boy in the presence of Zeus, before then suddenly bowing mid-air on his knees to the confusion of both Vegitos, continuing,
Please forgive me! I apologize profusely, and please forgive these two as well. The tournament would be so boring without them. You brought me here to kill them. What fun will there be if you do it yourself, Lord Zeus?
But the comedy would stop when Zeus would give a cold stare, an even colder statement saying,
Rules are rules, Genesis. You know that better than any. My most prized fighter, yet your insolence led to you rotting away below ground, chained up for millennia. I do not forgive rule breakers. These two will be removed from existence for their sins, and that is final.
And not wanting to say a word against the leader of the Elder Gods, Castiel would have a frozen, nervous face, thinking about what he will do without Vegito, while Cronoa would stare coldly, wondering if her entire plan and game had prematurely ended with the loss of the God Killer.
Objection!
Rules! You broke the rules too, Lord Zeus! Ardos told me he finished his round alone. We weren't even here to join him. But you said every round must have a minimum of 3 fighters. Shouldn't you be disqualified?
As back to hilarity, the loudmouth Genesis would seem to have a point, catching out Zeus in his own folly, leaving the Elder God near speechless to respond.
I did not break any rules. I will explain later. But on second thought, I do not want this tournament to be too easy. I will honor your request and allow these two to walk away free. Just do not do it again. Next time, I will not be so merciful.
As having to concede, Zeus would spare the lives of the 2 Vegitos. Nice save! You're not as dumb as you look, it seems. I'll remember this. Perhaps I'll make your death slightly less brutal. To which Genesis would just respond,
Okay, great!
while Vegito would let out a sigh of relief. And with that, and the crisis averted, all 3 fighters would then vanish away, keen not to make things any worse.
Now back to the tournament! Round 5 can now commence. And to explain the earlier entrance of just Ardos, the conditions of a match are up for change at any moment. For example, Round 5 will not be team-based. It will be 1-on-1.
Before with a close-up, Zeus would then break out,
1-on-1. And it will be a battle to the death. No surrender allowed.
And with that bombshell, all the Elder Gods would stare forward. Things were now getting far more serious, with even Cronoa's smile gone, with her starting to feel the heat.
Round 5's contestants will be Elder God Akubel versus Elder God Hera.
Finally. Me again already? Why do I get all the bad luck? As immediately the 2 gods would respond, Akobel literally not caring in the slightest, while Hera would just facepalm. Oh well. But it would seem he was a little bipolar, as in the very next panel, the black-haired elder god would be smiling again, getting up on his seat saying, "The game is the game. I can't cry about it. If a fighter is going to die, then I just have to think strategically. Chances are, neither of us wants to risk our strongest warrior. But no point sending the weakest to the slaughter. A healthy middle ground is needed. And in that case, Broly, I call upon you!" As just like that, yelling across the stage, Hera would make his decision.
So, the day has finally arrived. Violence is never the answer, but if I must, then I will kill again.
As finally, Broly the God Killer would make his way onto the stage. His story still unexplored, but clearly from his mannerisms alone, he would be unlike any Broly we had ever been introduced to before. A lion that didn't want to be poked, but now forced to perform. Bravo, Broly! Your presence alone is felt by all these elder gods. As Elder God Hera would then begin clapping the entrance of his fighter, silently confident adding, "Do what you do best, and destroy everything in your way, just the way I designed you." Another bootleg Vegito. How cute. While Cronoa, giggling to herself, would be far from impressed. Akobel! But Hera, turning to the elder god he was facing, would notice he wasn't saying a word. As grinning, Hera would ask, "What's the deal, Akobel? You quitting already or what? Where is your fighter? Maybe it's best you bring some of your fodder for this one. You know, since the loser dies. Bring someone you were saving for your daddy Zeus, and you may live to regret it." Are you done yet? Your voice alone is enough to make me lose on purpose, just so I can escape you. As Akobel, distinctly taking his time, would still not announce his fighter, until he would then get up out of his seat and then finally declare, "My fighter of choice, the one I call forth is Lucif." As unbelievably, the return of the ultimate villain would come out of nowhere. Lucif would be returning, as Akobel, calling him, would then look towards the sky of the tournament stage. This feeling, it's as like he were tied telepathically. Without even hearing Akobel, Vegito would sense something was coming. Turning around towards the stadium, looking down, but seeing nothing there but Broly. But in the sky, the clouds would begin to move, bunching together and creating a divine formation until, straight from the sky, a heavenly beam of light would shine down, lighting up the faces of all that were in the tournament vicinity. Who the hell? This doesn't feel like Lucif. I am thinking of the right person, aren't I? As even Hera, looking up, would sense something strange was coming, unlike the Lucif we knew. As up in the sky, at the peak of the light source, a black silhouette would now be seen coming down. Finally, I have reached my birthright, Father. As unbelievably, Lucif would return, but completely different to how he'd ever looked before. His description now inexplicable, covered in divine angelic armor, white feathered wings on both sides, while still displaying his long flowing white hair. The Archangel would finally be complete. His eyes now displaying one in the same style as Hackleberry's, but also one in the same style as an Omni-Devil. The first true hybrid of its kind, Lucif had well and truly returned to finish what he started with Ultra Vegito all that time ago.
But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag Lucif in the comments down below and let me know just what power he has now. Or just find out what happens right now on my Patreon, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked, and edited for you to enjoy with over 4,500 plus other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.